Pride is the downfall of every man. But for Prince Ease, it came with a price so terrifying that even his wealth and power couldn't save him. In the bustling streets of Umuobi City, one careless act unleashed a curse that would test his heart and soul. This is the story of a prince, a beggar, and a curse that changed the kingdom forever. Umuobi City was a place of energy and life, where the rich and the poor crossed paths daily. At its heart stood a grand palace, home to the Igwe and his family, but all was not well. Igwe Obinwa, the ruler of the city, was gravely ill. His only son, Prince Eze Obinwa, had stepped up to lead. Now Eze was no ordinary man. He was tall, handsome, and powerful, but his heart was as cold as the marble floors of the palace. Power had made him arrogant, and his wealth blinded him to the struggles of others. The people whispered about his cruelty, but no one dared to speak up until the day he met her, the beggar who changed everything. One afternoon, as Prince Ease drives through the streets in a sleek black SUV, he stops abruptly when he sees an old beggar woman sitting by the road. My prince, please spare some change. My children are hungry and I have nowhere else to go, asked the poor beggar woman. You dare block my path? Move, you filthy woman, said Prince Ease. He gets out of his car, kicks her bowl, scattering the coins she has collected. The old beggar woman looks up, her eyes glowing with an unearthly light. She began to curse Prince Ease. You think your power makes you untouchable? From this day forward, your beauty will rot and no one will come near you. You will be cursed until you learn to love and be loved. Issy laughs at the old beggar mockingly and drives off. But as the night falls, his reflection in the mirror begins to change. At first, it was just a patch of rough skin on his cheek, but by morning his face was unrecognizable. The curse had begun. For the first time in his life, Prince Eze felt fear. The man who once commanded rooms with his presence now sent people running in terror. The news of his transformation spreads. He locks himself in the palace, ashamed and desperate. Meanwhile, in another part of Umuobi City lived Amaka, a woman as kind as she was brave. She had little, but her heart was rich with love and generosity. Little did she know, her path would soon cross with the cursed prince. Prince Eze disguises himself and ventures out in search of the beggar to reverse the curse. He stumbles into the marketplace and meets Amaka, who helps him when he was mocked by others. She hands him a scarf. You shouldn't let people treat you like that. Here, take this scarf to cover your face. Eze was struck by Amaka's kindness, but he didn't reveal his identity. Instead, he begins visiting the marketplace daily to watch her. Days passed, and Izzy began to send gifts to Amaka's home, hoping to win her over. He had remembered the curse from the old beggar: you will be cursed until you learn to love and be loved. But Amaka, unimpressed by wealth, rejects his advances. You think your money can buy my love? Love isn't something you can purchase, Prince Eze. Her words sting, but they also plant a seed of doubt in his mind about his past actions. For the first time, Prince Eze questioned himself. Was love something he had ever truly understood? But he began to have thoughts about the past, a flashback of his childhood trauma, when his parents were poisoned by a trusted ally, leaving him bitter and distrustful. Unfortunately, his parents survived the poison. Izzy's arrogance was a shield. forged by pain and betrayal, but even the hardest shields can crack. After many attempts by Prince Easy to try to win Amaka love and his desperation to lift the curse, he came up with a plan to kidnap Amaka and force her to stay in the palace, believing her kindness will break the spell. You think holding me here will solve your problems? Love isn't something you can force, Prince Ease, asked Amaka. Despite her captivity, Amaka begins to influence those around her, including the palace staff, who grow fond of her. Prince Ease begins to show small acts of kindness, influenced by Amaka's presence. He releases some of his servants from harsh punishments and starts listening to their concerns. Change doesn't happen overnight, but for Prince Ease, it has begun. The curse was no longer just on his face, it was in his heart, and only love could cure it. Meanwhile, Amaka secretly plans her escape, but begins to see glimpses of change in Easy's behavior. The palace staff grows uneasy as they realize the curse's supernatural power, and some consider abandoning the palace altogether. One night, Amaka attempted to leave the palace but was stopped by Prince Ide. Instead of anger, he lets her go, proving his change. But as she leaves, the old beggar woman appears, revealing a shocking revolution. You've started your journey, Prince Ease, but the hardest test is yet to come. The curse was far from over, and the battle for redemption had only just begun. Amaka returns to her modest home, but her thoughts are consumed by Prince Eze. Meanwhile, in the palace, Prince Eze sits alone, staring at his disfigured reflection. Prince Eze had let Amaka go, a decision that felt both right and terrifying. For the first time, he had put someone else's feelings above his pride. But the small act of kindness was only the beginning. The curse demanded more. The old beggar woman appears in his chambers, her voice echoing like thunder. You have taken the first step, but love is not proven in comfort. To break this curse, you must show selflessness in the face of despair. Your first test begins now. The old beggar woman shows Prince Eze a vision of a child lost in the chaos of a busy street in Umuobi city. He recognizes the child as belonging to one of his palace staff. Eze disguises himself and ventures out into the city, searching for the child. The once proud prince struggles to navigate the bustling streets as passers-by mock and avoid him due to his appearance. Prince Eze was no longer the man who commanded respect with his presence. He was now a figure of ridicule, but for the first time he endured it without retaliation. After hours of searching, Easy finds the child in a dangerous part of the city, surrounded by petty criminals. Well, well, look who's here. Ugly Face wants to play hero. A fight breaks out. Prince Ease, despite his royal upbringing, defends the child with surprising courage. He takes a beating but manages to protect the boy. Upon his return to the palace, the boy's mother, a palace maid, breaks down in tears. My prince, I don't know how to thank you. I will never forget this kindness. Eze dismisses her gratitude with a wave of his hand, but her tears move him deeply. Months pass, and Amaka tries to move on with her life, but she can't shake the memory of Ize's vulnerability. She visits her best friend, Ngozi, seeking advice. Ngozi, I don't know what's wrong with me. He's done so much wrong, but I saw something in him, a spark of goodness. Do you think people like him can change? Change? Amaka, men like Prince Ez don't change. They take and take until there's nothing left of you. Stay away from him. But despite Ngozi's warning, Amaka decides to visit the palace, bringing food for the staff and gifts for the children. Meanwhile, as she arrives, the palace was in turmoil as one of the guards accuses a maid of theft, and Prince Easy stands in the middle of the commotion. My prince, this girl was caught with gold coins in her possession. She claims she didn't steal them, but the evidence is clear, said the guard. My prince, please, I didn't take anything. Someone must have planted them in my belongings, cried the maid. Essie looks at the terrified maid. The old East would have condemned her without a second thought, but something holds him back. This was Easy's second test to choose justice over convenience, mercy over anger. Prince Easy orders a thorough investigation, refusing to punish the maid until the truth is revealed. Days later, it is discovered that the coins were planted by another staff member out of jealousy. Let this be a lesson to everyone in this palace. We must treat each other with fairness and respect. That includes me, said Prince Ease. The staff is stunned by Easy's transformation, but the beggar woman appears once more, unseen by the others. You are learning, Prince Ease, but the greatest test is yet to come. Are you ready to sacrifice everything for love? She asked, but Eze didn't say a word. As Amaka witnessed the commotion at the palace, Prince Ease, noticing her presence, hesitates before approaching her. She was surprised to see the staff treating her with warmth. Amaka, I didn't expect to see you here. Why have you come? Asks Ize. I brought these for your staff. They've been kind to me even when you weren't. Amaka, answer. Her words sting, but Ize accepts them humbly. He notices that her tone is softer than before. Amaka's return brought a warmth that had been missing in the cold, imposing walls of the palace. Her presence felt like a ray of sunlight breaking through stormy clouds. Yet her return raised questions that echoed in her heart and the hearts of those around her. Could she forgive a man like Prince Ease? Could she truly see the man he was becoming rather than the man he had been? One morning, Prince Ease surprised Amaka by inviting her to the palace gardens. The once proud and arrogant prince now carried a simple tray of breakfast, setting it on a small table beneath a large baobab tree. He spoke of his dreams for the kingdom and how much he valued her advice. For the first time, he listened, not as a prince demanding respect, but as a man seeking guidance. On one rainy evening, a storm flooded the lower village. Amaka insisted on checking on the displaced families. Without hesitation, Eze joined her, walking through the rain-soaked streets with a lantern in his hand. He helps Amaka distribute blankets and food to villagers taking shelter in a school. Amaka watches him hand a warm blanket to a shivering child, her eyes filled with quiet admiration. In the pouring rain, Prince Ease showed her a side of himself she never thought existed, a man capable of selflessness and compassion. On another evening, as the palace slept, Eze found Amaka gazing at the city lights from the balcony. He approached with 2 cups of steaming tea, offering her one without a word. Amaka accepts the cup. They stand side by side, the city lights twinkling below them. Prince Ease looks at her with quiet gratitude. He didn't try to explain himself or justify his past. Instead, he listened as Amaka spoke of her fears and hopes. In that moment, silence said more than words ever could. Every gesture, every moment they shared was a step towards something deeper. The prince who had once seen the world only through the lens of power was now learning to see through her eyes, through kindness, patience, and love. And in her heart, Amaka began to wonder, could she trust the man standing before her, or would the shadows of his past always linger between them? Late at night, as the palace slumbered, Prince Ease was awakened by a soft knock on his chamber door. When he opened it, he found Amaka standing there, her face pale and stricken with fear. Her voice trembled as she spoke. My mother, she's been taken to the hospital. They say it's serious, but I don't have the money to pay for her treatment. This was Easy's greatest test, a moment to prove that his transformation was not just words or gestures, but a change in his very soul. It was a chance to act selflessly for someone he loved without expecting anything in return. Eze didn't hesitate. He ordered his car and insisted on driving Amaka to the hospital himself, despite his cursed appearance, despite the fear and judgment it might bring. His focus was only on her and the woman she loved most in the world. The car speeds through the quiet streets of Umuobi City, the headlights cutting through the darkness. Amaka sits in the passenger seat, her hands clasped tightly in worry. At the hospital, as they rushed through the entrance, the staff recoiled at the sight of him. Whispers spread quickly, people staring, fearful and confused. But Eze stood firm, his voice unwavering. Treat her mother immediately. I will cover all the costs. The nurses hesitate briefly, then rush to action as Easy places a pouch of money on the counter. Amaka watches him, her expression shifting from anxiety to gratitude. Through the night, Prince Easy sat silently by Amaka's side in the waiting room, his scarf shielding him from the stares of onlookers. Hours later, the doctor emerged with good news. The doctor nods with a reassuring smile as Amaka runs to her mother's bedside, tears streaming down her face. In the corner of the room, Eze watches quietly, a faint smile tugging at the edges of his scarred face. Amaka's mother survived, her life saved by Easy's actions. For the first time, Amaka looked at the prince not with pity or anger, but with something new, gratitude, and perhaps something even more, hope. Amaka turns to Ize, her eyes shining with emotion. She steps closer, placing a hand gently on his arm. He meets her gaze, his expression soft and vulnerable. But as they left the hospital, something unusual happened. A nurse, dressed in crisp white, passed them by. Essie froze, for in her familiar piercing eyes he saw her, the beggar woman, Mama Adaeze. The nurse pauses briefly, turning her head to meet Essie's gaze. Her lips don't move, but her voice echoes in his mind like a haunting melody. The final test is near, Prince Ease. Will you sacrifice everything for love? Ask Mama Adaze, her calm but yet foreboding. The nurse suddenly disappears into the hospital corridor, leaving Essie standing motionless. Amaka calls out softly. Essie lets go. Prince Eze had come far, further than anyone, even himself, could have imagined. But his journey was not over. The curse still loomed, and the true test of his heart was about to unfold. Prince Easy's story is not just one of transformation. It is a reminder of the power of love, humility, and redemption. His path has been one of pain and growth, but the greatest challenges still lie ahead. What would you sacrifice for love? Could you give everything, even your own happiness, to save someone else? Stay with us for the next chapter of this incredible journey. For even in the darkest of nights, the light of hope shines brightest. Thank you for joining us on this journey of transformation, love, and hope. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, may you find the strength to transform and the courage to love.